Hello, Soul viewers. We are back with the Soul Stay at Home series where we check in with some of your favorite artists and make sure that they are still sane. See how they're dealing, see how it is all going. Today, we are here with Eric Orr. How are you today, Eric?
I'm good. I'm great. Thank you for having me on your show. I don't know about being their favorite artist, but I'll take it for now.
I'm sure some people who you were a favorite, we'll get to them. That's why we try to put the content out there so we can reach everybody. And, it would be great if we can connect some new eyeballs with you as well.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
So
How
let's.
you doing? How you doing? How you doing with all this going on?
Thank you for asking. I'm shut in with a wonderful, sexy lady that makes it better and easier. So if you're not, I
That's always
recommend.
nice. That's always nice.
Yes, which we're keeping busy. Staying on top of projects around here, and just trying not to lay around all day and say, what are we going to do next?
Cool. Very cool.
So Eric, let's talk a little more generally first.
Sure.
Where are you from? What do you do?
I'm from the Bronx, from the Boogie Down Bronx, born and raised, and I am an artist. That's what I do. I create artwork for a living. Very lucky to be able to do that as well, I must say. And before we go any further, let me just say a big shout out to the families of Nick 707 and Streetman Lava 1 and 2 for their passings this past week. So big shout out to them and their families. Condolences and many blessings. Yeah. Actually, I got a little tribute to him too. To my man Streetman. There you go. Lava
Cool.
1 and 2.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully those are the last two community people that we're going to say goodbye to with this silliness. But if it isn't, I know they're going to be represented well.
Right.
I can't wait to see the Nick smiling face in a mural in a couple of weeks out on the street.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I heard the warm weather kind of like dissipates this virus or whatever, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
So
Yeah.
when did you get your start?
I actually got my start in high school. I went to high school with a real good friend of mine from Bronx. His name was Jazzy Jay. You guys probably know him as DJ Jazzy Jay. He's part of the Zulu Nation. He was part of Planet Rock. And he did that very famous record, Planet Rock. And we were in Alfred E. Smith High School. We're both carpenters. And his class was after my class in the morning. And I used to draw in the margins of my notebook paper while I was doing my regular work. And at one time, I believe I left a piece in the room, and he saw it. And he was like, "Oh, who did this?" And then we became fast friends. But basically, that's how I really got started. I got started as an artist through Jazzy Jay, because Jazzy Jay was the first person that commissioned me to create a logo for him. And he actually uses that logo to this day. So that was my very first commission. I don't know how that happened, but I started as a designer. And I know folks know me from the street art and have, known me from the graffiti, but I'm not really a graffiti artist. And I'm not really a street artist. I'm more of an illustrator, but I have a lot of friends that are graffiti artists and street artists. So that's how I got started. Jazzy Jay was the one that gave me my very first commission, and I created the logo. And my career started right there.
I don't know anyone that identifies as an illustrator that wasn't heavily influenced by comic books. Is that the same with you?
That was absolutely the same with me, and we'll get to talking about that as well, because I don't know if you know, but I created the very first hip hop comic book. But I mean, graffiti artists, street artists are heavily influenced by comic book and all illustrations. Yeah. So I was heavily influenced by comic books as well.
Were you a collector, or did you just appreciate the art?
I was a collector. I was a collector, and yeah, my brother was a collector. My older brother was a collector. Cousins were collectors. I think we all were collectors at that moment. See, I'm not sure most folks know. They know me. They see Eric Orr, but they don't know that I go back before the whole movement started. I guess I can say. I mean, I was born in '59, so before the whole hip hop movement even started, I was familiar with what was going on. My oldest brother was in Vietnam, and he was the one that kind of got us interested in the comic books and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So my guess would be, if you were born 59, you were 73, 75.
No. I just made 61 this year.
No, I meant the years that you were collecting comics.
Oh, the years I was collecting comics would have been, 71.
Yeah.
The golden era.
Yeah.
Golden age comic books.
They call that the Bronze era, technically.
Bronze era.
They were big books. First Wolverine, first Punisher, all those big ones.
Yes, all of that stuff. Yeah. I think I have a few of those tucked away somewhere.
Good for you. Don't pull them out. They'll be fine. Leave them buried for now.
I'm not even going to look for them. They're deep in the closet somewhere.
Who were some of your favorites back then?
Fantastic Four. I like that guy, the rubber guy that stretched.
Mr. Fantastic, sure.
Yeah. And if you look at some of my artwork now, you'll see some of the imagery that kind of came from that, like my robot that has the intertwining and swirls and all that kind of stuff. So
I'm looking at it now. That comes from Mr. Fantastic. That's awesome.
It comes from Mr. Fantastic. It also comes at a later date where what was the robot? Inspector Gadget.
Mm-hmm.
From the mid '70s, late '70s, '80s. That cartoon.
Yep. That was my childhood.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, you say that you're around before the scene and around before it all came about. What were, and I'm not going to take our viewers through the history of it, but what would you say was the more surprising a turn of events, if you could go back, say 30 years and say, is it that the street art community is now mural based when it wasn't even close to that when it came around? Or is it that the graffiti writers are almost as respected in the galleries today as they are on the streets?
Well, for me, it's like you say, the whole respect aspect of it. I mean, there were mural painters, Colossal for one, were painting murals on side of buildings for years, long before we started, or graffiti artists started painting on the trains. So that was a form of street art, wouldn't you say? The colossal murals that were on the advertisements.
Yeah, advertisements. I mean, you could take it all the way back to Coca-Cola.
Right. Well, yeah.
They were the first one to paint their logos on buildings and stuff like that.
So the turn of events would have been when the phenomenon of writing your name on something that moved through the city, i.e. Milk trucks, the train, the subway system, or maybe the bus system, mail trucks. So the idea was to get your name out so that everyone knew who you were. Well, the persona anyway. That was kind of interesting, for me, because, I lived on 174th Street, West Farms. My first tag would have been, what was the name of the school? PS6. And then St. Thomas Aquinas. I got my first marker from a buddy of mine. His name was Iron Mike. I went by the name of Page 2, but I never really got famous for that or anything like that. But my first tag was on that door. And it was just, in your neighborhood. But through the folks like Tacky and Cornbread and all those ones, and people wanted to get notoriety because at that age, there's a lot of machismo. You know what I mean? You want to be the big person. You want to know, you want people to know who you are. That's what I thought was kind of interesting. And then when it went to the vehicles that moved around the city and people started to recognize who that person was, that's when things kind of changed, you know, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense because you know, we talk to the writers that focus on train cars also, and not city trains, you know, coast to coast trains, freight trains, and
Right.
that's a completely different interest and culture and subculture, but it's for the exact same reason. I want to paint
Right.
in Pennsylvania and have it seen in California. You know, we're not just talking about driving a truck around the city, we're talking coast to coast. So I
Right.
think that's the exact. It's the same root desire. I mean, that I would want my art traveling everywhere.
That is true. And the advent of this internet era, you don't even have to go out there and actually paint a train, or you don't have to paint a car. You can just create something in your house, put it on your Instagram. You got millions of people looking at it.
Now, how do
Hopefully.
you let's talk about that because you came up before the internet. You didn't just come up before Instagram. Uh,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
let's be real. You saw the changes in the
Yeah.
you know, the landscape. It was back in the day. You were hopeful to get into a gallery, and you took your walls on the street. But nowadays, everyone's their own gallery. So
Yeah.
you know,
That is
is
true.
it good or bad?
Well, it's faster. I mean, it's a lot faster. You know, you can be famous quickly, but you can also burn out as just as fast. At least when I was coming up, it was a slow process because then you had magazines, and magazines come out either biweekly or once a month. You know what I mean? And you would get your artwork in a magazine like Source or International Graffiti Times, which is really funny. Funny story is that when I first saw the International Graffiti Time, I was like, oh, I want to be part of this. How can I be part of it? And I send them some images of some work I did with Keith Haring in the subway, and they posted on. I think it was the second publishing, and they put my little robot on the back side of that, and I was really thrilled by that. You know, I was like, you know, I made it basically. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Now, what do you think? Uh, what do you think New York is going to be like when we all come out and rub our eyes and finally get back to, you know, are you going to be so quick to give your boy a pound or a handshake or a big hug after you see him and stuff
Well,
like that?
I'm a big fan of daps anyway, so you know I'll still be giving out the dap as opposed to the bro hug. But that's going to be it's going to change. You know, people are going to change. Everybody's going to be suspect. You know, anybody that coughs, even if it's a good friend of yours, if that person coughs, you're going to be like, oh, you know, a little timid to go close or whatever. It's going to be different because you don't know. You don't know who has it. And the way the media has treated this whole thing, the virus. I mean, we've had influenza in our lives for a long time, you know, and people get it all the time. But the media has this way of creating this hysteria. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to downplay the virus. It's just because they don't have a vaccine for it right now. But people get the flu all the time. And I know for a fact that people die from the flu all the time, years before this. But it's just the media, for some reason, is making this like, maybe because there's, like I said, there's no vaccine for it, you know. But it's definitely going to be different when we go back, if we get back, and when we get back. Yeah.
I feel the worst for the service industry, bars and restaurants. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to withstand this.
Yeah, yeah.
And Trump was
Yeah.
terrible when he spoke about it the other day. He goes, no, no, no. the bars and restaurants will be back. There'll be new ones. In other words, everybody's going to go out of business, and that's okay, as a foregone conclusion, which is really rough to consider.
Well, I hope not, because I have some friends that own some businesses, and and that would be nice. That would not be nice at all. So,
Yeah.
I can't call it. I've been and seen some things in this world. My years on it, this has definitely been much different from what I've seen in the past. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different, and it's going to be it's going to be, people are going to go, they're going to go out, like when they um, elect to let people back out into the, to stores and things like that. There's going to be a big rush just to see if the virus peaks again. And most likely it is, because people have been indoors so long. They just want to get out. For me, I'm fortunate. I'm down in a neighborhood where there's not a lot of people. I'm next to a park. They closed the park up so people can't go in it, but I'm next to a park. I'm on a campus. I'm on the campus of Point, and it's not many people that come down here. So I'm sort of isolated myself, and I'm on a campus, and it has a locked door. You can't get into the campus unless I let you in. So I've been out, and I have, like I said, a BG come by, and people, they'll stop by. But for those who don't have this luxury, this small luxury, just have to stay in their house or their apartment, it's tough, man. I know it's tough.
Historically, tough times always breed great art. Do you think this is going to be any different?
You're right about that. Historically, tough times breed art, but we need interaction in order for the creative energies to flow. And this is a separation of that. So let's go back to the beginning of the whole hip hop and graffiti movement. You had a bunch of kids who played together, who talked to each other on the playground, in their neighborhood, sat on the stoop, had conversation, that one-on-one or two-on-two, the group effort. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
This has everyone separated. It's a little bit different. We need that human interaction. I mean, what we're doing now is great, but it's not the same when I have my buddy BG here. You know what I mean? Or I have another friend here talking to me.
We were trying to figure out what to do during this, because it's one thing to keep putting up stories on the website or writing articles and things like that, but excuse me, there really was a connection that we had at the podcast table while we were recording, while we were getting to know someone, and we didn't want to lose that during the the stay-at-home order. So Erica had a great idea to just to have one-on-one chats with everybody, and bring the community a little bit closer just by hearing that people are talking about it.
Right. It's do you feel that, like, I've seen your podcast when we did I believe it was over the summer, and they had that festival that came through. You guys were downstairs with us. Yep. And I did that.
We chatted at Moniker, right?
Yeah. Okay. So with all the artists that sat around the table, you have that energy, the human energy, and it's just different. I mean, like, I love this, but I don't think anything great comes from one individual. Even if somebody comes up with something great, it's because that person had contact with another person, you know what I mean? Or read someone else's work, or created something with someone else.
So you're a believer that there are no new thoughts?
I'm a believer that there are no new thoughts. Yeah, I am a believer of that. They're rehashed, rethought, and then presented differently. Because, man, nature's been here since we've been on this planet, and it's doing just fine. You know what I mean? It's doing just fine.
Pictures of nature rebounding. That the water is clear in Venice, and the pollution over LA has never been this good, that new flowers are growing that didn't grow there before and things like that. That's wonderful to me.
And you have the volcanoes that erupted, wiped out areas. First thing that come back is green, right? The green comes back first.
That's right.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
We're the disease. Humans are the disease.
Well, no, we may not be the disease. We might be the carriers of the disease.
Yeah.
That's what it is. We're the carriers of the disease.
Well, Eric, this was a fun as hell chat. I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to see that you're still doing what you want to do and keeping it up.
Yeah, I'm blessed to be able to do what I'm doing. I mean, I had a project that was about to come out before this whole thing jumped off, so I had to stop that. I'm working with Gary Lickenstein right now, the printer out in Jersey, and the Herring Foundation was granted me permission to put this print out, and I was right about to put the print out, and then they had the shutdown order. So you guys could hopefully when this is all over, I'll release this print, and
yeah, we'd love to cover it, help you get the word out, all that.
Yeah, cool. That'd be great, man. I would love to help.
Awesome. So Eric, before we let you go, please let our viewers know where they can find you online.
My Instagram is Orr Designs. You can Google Eric Orr. I'm the second Eric Orr. The first Eric Orr is the artist out of California who's a minimalist, but mine's under graffiti. So yeah, Orr Designs on Instagram, or just Google Eric Orr. You can find me, and yeah, that's how you can find Eric Orr. I'm not hard to find.
Eric, thank you very much for your time today, brother.
No, thank you so much. Appreciate it.